And I'm like, well, you can't not look at it. I mean, it's there, and if we try to walk around and pretend it's not, we're just pushing it away until we can't deny it any longer. It's a matter of just determining how to handle it and how to navigate it and not to give it the power that it can suck from us, especially when it's something that we choose not to deal with or that we can't deal with because it's out of our control.
I like what you said there because it's not about being Pollyanna and just putting a smile on and pretending that nothing's going on.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's about just trusting ourselves to know if it's something we want to change, we have the power to change it or improve it even marginally, and if it's something we can't, then get to the point where we can accept it and just move on.
Yeah, so that's the main message in your book. And so if you don't mind, could you tell everybody again the two buckets that you talk about?
Definitely. So, it's a care model, and I came up with this because I feel like it's the easiest way to communicate, an acronym. Who doesn't love a good acronym? It's an easy way to communicate everything that's in the book. The CARE model, CARE. So the C is that change, and then the A is the accept. So the C is what we have to change, whether improve, change, at least strive to make better. Those things in our lives that we're not thrilled with about who we are, our situations, um, what we know that if it doesn't improve, we're going to be stuck feeling miserable or feeling mediocre, and we know we deserve more than that. And then it's contrasted with the A, which is that accept piece. So the accept is, yeah, I'm not thrilled about this situation or part about myself of who I am and what I do, but it's not keeping me from living the quality of life that I know I want to live. And just knowing where things belong in those different categories is key for finding more joy and to live the life we know we want. So for me, for many years, as I wrote in my book, I've always been fearful, anxious, had OCD, and at certain times in my life, it was something that I had to put in that change bucket because it was keeping me from living the life that I knew I wanted to live. I mean, when I got married and everything went sideways in terms of my fears just overcame me, and my anxieties and my OCD made me miserable, and my new husband of a year was like, what's happening? Who are you? I realized very quickly that had to go into that change category, and reached out, got the help that I needed, and was able to manage my issues to the point where they then became in my accept category. I always still have my issues. They're not gone, but they're manageable. And they were manageable until I got pregnant with my son. And then they came back over here because I was such a nervous wreck and a mess and anxious. And I knew I didn't want to be that kind of mom. I knew that I needed to get those issues under control in order to live a happy life and be the kind of mom, wife, person I wanted to be and deserved to be. Focused on the issues again, got the help, went back into my accept. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Do I have issues? Of course. I'm still nervous. I'm still a wreck when he's out playing on the playground, but he gets a bath at the end of the day. He's fine. I'm good. Fast forward to 2020, not so good anymore. Back in this changed bucket, it had to go. I wasn't even able to go into a public space for 3 months, from March until June, early July. And this is where the book left off. I said if I needed help again, I would reach out for it. Well, I did. I ended up having to get help again. And Dr. C was still practicing and was still available, believe it or not. And she took my call, and I still see her virtually once a week. Just got off the phone with her this morning, actually. But I needed help to get out of where I was mentally. Just again, wasn't able to function, wasn't able to live the quality of life that I want for my kids. They're 12 and 9 now. So I needed help. I'm able to say now it's in the accept bucket. It's now I'm able to function. I still don't like going out. I still have a lot of anxiety around it. Not going to lie, especially now with cases going up and the numbers getting worse, but I'm able to do it. I can use my tools, use my critical thinking to be able to function and live as joyfully as I can during this difficult time. So it's just a matter of constantly analyzing which area things need to be in. Does that resonate with you guys at all?
I see that as a way to deal with perfectionism, because I think that perfectionism runs in a lot of us in a lot of different ways. And I think it was chapter 2 that you sort of allude to this. Yes, that we feel like we have to be really good at everything all the time and have everything handled beautifully all the time, that we're like June Cleaver and everything is awesome all the time.
Exactly.
So I feel like you creating that system can help combat that, what Brene Brown calls the 20-ton shield of perfection, because it feels like such a weight when you carry all of that around with you. And then you're not yourself either,
Yep.
because you're just trying to put on a facade for the world.
And it's exhausting.
It's exhausting. Mm-hmm.
It's exhausting. We're not meant to be perfect at every single aspect of who we are and what we do. We're not. And in most cases, that's okay. As long as internally you're okay with it. If it's something you want to improve upon, if you want to get this skill or ability, great, work on it, invest, put the time in. But if you don't, and it doesn't matter at the end of the day, who cares? Who
Mm-hmm.
cares?
Yeah. So I loved that chapter so much. And Nancy Goodenough is my new buddy.
The irony, when I heard that name, I knew. I was like, all right, I got it. I got it, universe. Message received. It's just, accepting who we are. And as long as it's not hurt, it's not keeping us from living the life we want and keeping us from being who we want to be, it's okay. And striving for perfection is ridiculous because it keeps us from enjoying what we are good at and what we enjoy doing. I mean, it's just, yeah, it was a revelation for me for sure. And putting that kind of pressure on ourselves, it doesn't end well.
No, it usually ends in breakdown.
And there's power in saying, you know what, these are my strengths and these are what I'm good at, and these aren't. There's power in that, and to acknowledge that this is where I struggle and this is, something that I'm either working on to improve or something that I'm okay with sucking at. And we have to be okay with sucking at stuff.
Yeah, I like that. John Maxwell calls it the law of the lid. Like you can get so good at this one skill and your lid on this skill might be down here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And your lid on this skill might be way up here somewhere. So why are you spending all your time trying to push against this lid over here that you're not going to get better at and you don't really care about?
Exactly.
Just because somebody else thinks that you should be good at it. When
Or
you could be
else,
spending your time way over here. Why do that?
And there's joy in building what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, what you want to invest your time, resources, and energy into.
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody think about something that they're not great at, but they're okay with not being great at it? Did anything come to mind when you were reading it? Did it resonate with you in a certain way?
And there's a lot of things for me. The first thing that comes to mind for me is cooking. I will let Eric cook every day of the week. He's good at it. He enjoys it.
Amen, sister.
I'm not. I will take all morning to bake something with my kids for fun, but I'm not even ever really going to be good at that. And I'm okay with that.
Same.
I write the way that I talk. It's very improper, misspelling of words.
Oh, I love it.
Forgetful of words because I thought I said it in my head. And I'm okay with that because it'll never change. And I don't want to.
It's authentically you.
It's authentically me. I don't ever want to take a writing class.
But
So
remember that struggle we went through, Kristen, when you wanted to be perfect at writing every single thing that you wrote?
I did.
And you wouldn't put it out there in the world because it wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
And it wasn't grammatically, like it came out of an English book.
Yes. Because I was
And you set
comparing,
yourself free.
it was comparing to the other people that you see, and yeah, I know. So yeah,
I'm so glad you let go of that.
I am okay with that.
Good. Good. That's perfect. That's perfect.
The funniest one for Kristen was we live right by a dam, a DAM dam.
Okay.
Like it's right there by our houses. And we had so much rain a couple of years ago that it was like we were watching the rain rise behind the dam. And it's like getting so close that like the news are out there like watching, is it going to go over the dam? Well, Kristen is on her way to Lakeway or whatever, and she takes a picture and she writes a little thing on her picture with an arrow, DAMN. And I'm like, yes, girl.
I like it. I love it.
Yeah. I've got to try and find that picture. Now that you say that, I'm going to look.
I loved it. And I actually thought you did that on purpose. And you were like, oops. And I'm like, no, it's perfect.
Perfect.
No. Yeah.
And I wonder too if that perceived shortcoming is actually something that makes people feel more connected to you, because you are conversational in your writing, and they feel like they know the authentic you.
I never thought of it that way. It would be probably awfully weird if I had a perfect curated little something. It wouldn't sound like me.
You're human, and they see
Yeah.
that, and they get to know you. You're a person, and I love that, quite frankly.
Well, I love that perception. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So when you get off this call, you'll look up Kristen Caldwell on her Instagram. It's really beautiful. She's good at
Cussing?
graphics and
I cussed today in my story.
it.
Sorry.
I saw it.
I did.
I was like,
Mama Nikki's like, ooh.
Like, F word. Nikki doesn't cuss, and so she always.
I do.
Well, you,
I
yeah.
just don't say the F word unless I really need to. I lock myself one a month.
Ooh, I like one a
month. Wow.
an hour.
You're like the Ruth Langmore of the team, Kristen.
Oh. But that's okay.
The beauty is we don't have to be the same. Everybody's different. We can still embrace and love each other. It's all good.
Don't you love that we're a team and we're so different, and like we're all such good friends, but everybody is so very like personality wise, we're all over the map. It's so fun.
If only the world was like that.
I think they are. They're just afraid of it.
Yeah, just appreciate each other's differences and accept each other wherever they are. Yeah.
Truly. Yep. Love the person in front of you.
Yes. Yes. How about you, Nicole? Tell me a little bit about you. What are you not great at? But you know what? Who cares?
Still working on that.
Okay.
I feel like I still need to be great at everything. And it's something I struggle with. Like my mom has constantly told me, she's like, you do so much. And I'm like, I don't really feel like I do that much as far as juggling all of my roles. And so understanding that it's okay to not do it all. I have gotten better at the fact that, I don't generally do laundry in my house. My husband gets to it before I do, and that's totally fine. He does dishes and laundry. And really, honestly, I could care less about any of that stuff. So accepting the fact that it's okay to accept help.
Yeah. Do you ever feel though bad when you notice that the laundry is clean and on, in the basket and folded, that you didn't do it? Do you ever feel like, oh, should have got to that before he did?
Sometimes we usually do pretty good about sharing some of the, like he'll wash it and I'll help fold and put away. But yeah, there are times where he's got a load of laundry in there and I know he's had a really long day and I go, man, I should have done something to help.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm not doing enough. I think also I struggle with that because I took a step I jumped full-time into my business in January. And so my husband is carrying all of the bills and stuff right now as I grow a business. And so then I have that guilt of I'm not doing enough in my business because I'm not generating that income. And we've always been a 2-income household. So to go from that to where I am right now has been a huge transition. And that weight sometimes I go, oh, I should have cooked, I should have done dishes, I should have, you should all over yourself. And instead of just going, no, I'm appreciative that we have this partnership, and that I am with the right partner in my life who is willing to pick up that burden when I'm shifting my focus a little bit. So recognizing that, stepping into that a little bit more has been my focus over the last couple months, and not feeling so guilty.
I love that. And the
Carrying
fact,
that guilt, that mom guilt.
yeah, I hear you. That resonates with me so, so much. I'm in a very similar situation. Writing my book and just going on the speaker circuit and just putting my message out there. It doesn't quite pay what my full-time job paid. Let's just leave it at that. But my husband is like, I just want you to be happy. And I just want you to, we're in a position where we can do it. So do it. But when I noticed the other day that I didn't get a chance to, I was cutting up apples and I just left it there on the counter until I figured I would get to it later, and he cleaned it up, and I did the same kind of thing. I was like, oh, it's the least I could do is, stay on top of stuff. But, I kind of called myself out on it, and I was like, I do a lot and I try real hard. But the important thing that I do try to do is acknowledge him when he does something like that. I mean, first of all, I always, thanks, hey, appreciate you letting me do my thing. I love it. But also, just acknowledging, thanks for getting that. I didn't get a chance to, so to give him that space of acknowledgement to feel good about the fact that I noticed it. But I also try, and I don't know if this is something that would resonate with you, but the burst of joy concept, I don't know if we've read it yet, depending on how far you've gotten, but I love the idea of creating bursts of joys for others. And I've made it kind of my mission to create a lot of bursts for him because I am so appreciative. And so I'm more likely to be like, hey, what movie you want to watch tonight? Or what episode of what show you're binging? I don't typically like what he likes. He's very sci-fi and I don't, but I'm like, you pick whatever you want. And I don't, act, I'm just like, whatever you want, let's do it. And so I'm trying to create those moments for him that light him up a little bit, and I'm not really telling him, I'm creating a burst of joy for you, dear. I hope you're enjoying this. It's just like, hey, what do you want? What do you want to watch tonight? Or, what's on your mind for dinner? Or I don't know. I just try to go above and beyond to show appreciation in a way that makes him feel good.
Gratitude opens such a door anyway. Gratitude is a huge door opener for happiness, and trying to practice that every day with the people that are around us make us happier. Right. And absolutely. I love that you have the service piece coming up. We haven't gotten to the service piece yet, but giving is receiving.
Absolutely. And I love the business you guys are in too, because I know we've just met, but knowing Carrie and knowing the Beachbody program, it's very rooted in serving people and helping people and connecting with people. And your clients know that. I mean, they know when you reach out, you're really wanting to know how they're doing and what they're struggling with and how you can help them and how you can serve them. And that goes beyond just business relationships. I mean, you really want to make a difference and help them reach their goals. And they feel that. And that's why they want to work with you. You're creating joy all around, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really sort of an underlying theme for us, isn't it? So this practice is making me really realize that.
Yeah, I mean, it's rooted in serving and creating joy for others and knowing that it's going to have that ripple effect. The silly things that I do that bring people joy, it just makes me want to do more of it in different ways. And that's at the end of the day what we're all in this universe to do. Just create joy and make people feel seen and heard and worthy.
Yeah, and Lisa, you probably talk about this more, but the more that we give and the more that we serve, the better that we feel. It's kind of that ripple effect that you're talking about. I always hear that when you're you're down, or if you're almost feeling that like hopelessness kind of feeling, like go and help somebody. So it's like your bursts of joy that you're talking about. It really does. It does help.
Does.
So.
It really, especially now. I mean, my goodness. And it's so hard because we don't have those human connections with people. I talk about this later in the book. When pre-COVID, I love connecting with people just in general in life in a very superficial way. And I think that the more we can connect with people, even on the surface stuff, the better. I think it all plays into the reminder that as different as we all are, at our core, we are still part of the human team, and we're all in the same game of life doing the best we can. And in my book, I talk about how at the grocery store, I was there a few, probably close to a year now ago, just kind of, doing my thing and doing my grocery shopping. And I see this older lady who just could not for the life of her get that stupid produce bag open to put her broccoli in. And I'm like, I made a beeline over to her. I'm like, let me help. And I'm opening this bag. I know, right? And I'm opening this bag for her. And you would have thought that I saved her from choking, how good I felt. I was like, I am just amazing. Because we shared a pleasant exchange and we just had a nice conversation about the weather. The whole interaction was maybe 90 seconds, but it filled me up because it reminded me that we're all part of this game of life together. And it reminded her that there are good people who want to help other people. And it kind of restores your faith in humanity a little bit. And so there's that whole part of creating bursts for those we love and those that are close to us, but there's also the element of creating bursts for fellow humans because they're fellow humans. And that's that. Yeah, I did a lot of that this year with the election and stuff. I really felt, and I wrote a few blog posts about it, that right now, the surface stuff, if we can bring stuff, the surface stuff makes more of an impact than we think it does, especially before the election when everybody was just so hyped up and we're all just in this divisive mindset. And we, of course, don't forget our good friend COVID that's making our lives miserable. It's a matter of how can we feel connected in a time of division. And I wrote about a story where, on my daily walk, I'm walking around the neighborhood and I see this guy who's got a Green Bay Packers flag hanging in his garage. And as you know, I like football now. Who would have thought? And I was like,
I used to go to high school football games with Lisa. She had no idea what was happening.
Carrie, I don't know if you were part of my discussions, but I can remember on many occasions when they would say there's a flag on the play, I thought somebody left a twirling flag from our show on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember
would
that.
say, get the flag off the field. So stupid. Anyway. So anyway, I saw this banner and this guy was in his garage and he's working on his car. I'm like, hey, dude, do you think Aaron's going to take it all the way this year? And he's like, yeah, I feel really good about it. And we had this really lovely couple-minute interaction. No big deal, but it was fun. Never met the fella, but whatever. Took a few more steps away from his driveway as I continued on my walk, and I saw a yard sign for a candidate that I don't support. And it made me think for a minute. And I actually asked myself, if I had seen that sign first before seeing the Green Bay banner, would I have still engaged with him? And the answer is absolutely, I would have. Because right now, I am desperate to find some commonalities with people, especially with people who I don't agree with on the big stuff. Because my theory is, if we can continue to remind each other through those kinds of interactions, through those human connections, that we are all more similar than we're not, it's going to add up to creating a better sense of humanity long term. There's no way I'm going to change his mind. There's no way he's going to change mine. I don't care. I don't want to. What I want to do right now is just recognize that on the basic human level, we are similar. And we had that moment of connectivity. And that's what I continue to do throughout the day. It's a little harder now because my mask is on and I'm not really able to smile to people or make chit chat because I want to get the heck out of there. But whenever I have the opportunity, I want to create those feelings for both of us.
Do you feel like the division, I mean, I think it's kind of obvious that the division has grown because of political divides, but do you think that there is more division because we're cyber community driven? Do you think the cyber community is a good thing, a bad thing, or could be a good thing, or could be a bad thing?
I think it sucks. And I think we're doing what we can to stay connected, but there's something like the interchange I had with the gal in the grocery store. I can't do that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could, but I am so committed to getting the heck out of there and anxious about being in a grocery store in the first place. The last thing I unfortunately am looking at is opportunities to help other people. I think that we're doing the best we can, but I think that there's something about being in a space in person with people that we're obviously not able to do, and that builds the connection more than what we can do virtually.
Yeah. I want to tell you a little story. I'll get your feedback on it. My sixth grader is not going to school in person, right? So she only goes for band, and she needs PE credit. So she takes her little PE class from home, but we knew that she had to run the mile this year as a sixth grader. So she and the other little girls that are in sixth grade in our neighborhood that are also not in school have spent all of this time together. And so they started running a mile together twice a week. Well, next thing you know, the whole neighborhood is running together twice a week. Like a lot of kids, like 20 kids, probably 20, 25 kids. But they have also all been together since March. It's not like a bunch of strangers getting together and running and coughing all over each other.
Yeah.
We've been doing that since the beginning of October. So every Tuesday, every Thursday, we meet up at the park. The kids aren't breathing on each other. They go, they run their mile. They're all kind of separate. They come back, they get their time. They're super stoked about it. They love seeing what their time is. It helps them get exercise, and it helps them sort of a distance see other kids, right? So we've just thought it's been a really positive thing. I'm the administrator for our neighborhood socializing group. And Thursday last week, we not only did our run, but we did it for charity. And we did it for the Shiver family, Nikki. So we had an option for people to donate to the Shiver family. The kids ran a mile, and so it was a win-win for everybody.
Oh, love it.
I looked in the group page. Well, actually, my husband saw it first. In the group page, this guy was very combative, just like his language with talking about, I saw a huge group of kids. They were unmasked and too close to each other, and they were exercising. Do you people not care at all about anybody but yourselves? So there was a whole bunch of, by the time I got to it, a whole bunch of comments, right? People fighting back and forth about it. And it was hurtful to me because I felt like I had just done something really good for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my daughter was proud of herself. All those kids were proud of themselves. That family was given a gift. And so we all had this sort of burst of joy moment. And this person just sort of came crashing in with this attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And on the same group page, you can see plainly right there, Thursday is giving day for the Shivers. This is what we're doing. And he could have seen that.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of arguing on a group chat, hello, I'm the admin. I said, please call me. And I put my phone number in there because anybody in the neighborhood can call me anytime.
Perfect.
So he called and left a very combative message on my phone about, he kind of like acted like he was my boss. It was like, I know it was all, you were trying to do something good, but your people need to be masked up and separated. And don't you understand what's happening here? So I called him back. He didn't pick up. I left a very kind message, but my message was, here's what's happening. Here's what has been happening. Here's what we did. And I would appreciate it if you would use kind words on our group page. I just want to let you know that I'm taking that message down that you commented on. And I'm going to ask you in the future to only use kind words there. And he sent me a text message like, yeah, it's all good, like something like that. So anyway, the door is closed. I think the air has been cleared, but it hurt some feelings, right? And it was very combative. And it sort of was a downer on something that was beautiful. And I wonder if I approached that correctly, if you would have approached it differently. And and how to approach that kind of thing in the future.
I think
What
you
are your
did
thoughts?
great. I think you did great. I don't dance. I call it dancing. I don't dance with people on social media when it comes to that kind of thing. I mean, the people who are going to have a problem with whatever you do. I mean, that is first and foremost. There's always going to be somebody who's going to be offended or angry or, see something very differently than we see it. And that's their right. We can't tell them not to, but I can choose not to dance, especially on social media, and I won't. I mean, I think your response was perfect. Call me, because I think people are less likely to say hurtful things in person or on the phone, whereas they would certainly post it to their page or to someone's page to be combative and angry. And you handled it beautifully. I mean, I think it was you acknowledged it in a right way, but you didn't go back and forth on the post, which is, I think, critical, because nobody wins, because it's just an angry, hurtful space when people start getting into that mindset. I think you handled it great. Did your daughter in the group, the kids, read it? Did they know about it? Good.
No, just the parents.
Good.
And I received some text messages from the parents. Particularly, one of the parents has a daughter that's on chemotherapy, and she runs with us twice a week because it's
It's
good for
outdoors.
her.
Safe. It's outdoors, right?
And we would never do anything to compromise her safety.
Right. Her parents certainly wouldn't. So yeah, it's just perception. I mean, everybody's got, and that's the thing too about this terrible virus, is that there's so many people who feel so differently, and it really is what they perceive to be safe, and other people don't perceive activities that other people are doing to be safe, whereas the other people do. So it's, then you've got that whole element of how do we, handle in a community where some think this is okay, but others interpret what's being said as not being okay. And so that's a whole nother element of challenge. But I think you handled it beautifully. I mean, social media is not the place to have those engagements that can get rude and nasty and mean, and people are just hurtful. And I think you handled it beautifully. And the fact that he texted you and said it's all good. I mean, you told him, I appreciate your comment. Here's where we're coming from. Here's how we interpret the situation. And, be kind in the future. Boom. Done. Well done.
Okay. Well, thank you. I feel
You change other people. I mean, that goes into the accept category. It's not just about things about us. It's about things about other people that we can't change. And those go into the accept as well.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
Well, Carrie, I think it goes back to your question that you posed earlier about social media. I view what we do as an industry that is trying to uplift and empower other people. However, there's that whole side of social media that is trying to do the complete opposite.
Mhm.
And it can be hard for especially our young kids with the very, the immature, just the age that they're at, knowing what to believe and what not to. Even as an adult, we don't know what to believe and what not to believe, because there's contradicting messages out there for everything, as far as like where you should do your shopping, as far as like how fast you should drive, or your clothing. I mean, it doesn't matter. Social media can either hurt you or provide an avenue for you to thrive. But I think it depends on who you follow and what you're actually looking for when you go to social media.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as
I feel like some people are walking into social media looking for
Bingo.
They're looking for the negativity. They're looking for those rabbit holes to go down. I mean, we know when we're sad, typically, oh my God, all this like sad crap somehow like pops up. Like it's the endless scroll of, ah! And I think as far as people will always, I think you handled the neighborhood event correctly. There's always going to be that one person or that handful of person that's going to try and hide behind their words on a message thread. He probably wasn't expecting you to call him back, and he was probably super excited when you didn't answer the phone. It's probably the only reason why that kind of conversation went on. I applaud you for not, like Lisa said, not having a conversation. And our kids, they have to have some socialization somehow. You did it outside. They were exercising, and they can choose to have their kids participate or not. But you as a parent, you're making the judgment call, and he needs to step off. Like,
Yeah.
My opinion.
I sort of had a proud mom moment because when I called him back, Jade was in the room, my older one.
Yeah.
And she heard the way that I handled it, and she was like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Trying to teach the girls how to handle situations when people are disrespectful or ugly.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
Exactly. So I would love to hear, shifting gears a little bit, what is your football? What is something that you never enjoyed or thought you could possibly enjoy? And as an adult now in this phase of your life, you actually like it or have found joy in something that you never did before. Anything come to, yeah.
I giggle. I'm like, yes, I know. So I was very active in high school and just kind of always thought it was something that I was supposed to do at that age. And so when I had the choice, when I went to college, like I loathed anything exercise. Like, I would be the girl that would, at the campus, I would get on the public transportation to go to the other side of campus. Like I didn't want to walk. And obviously my lifestyle went into that very lethargic, just kind of rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. And I can remember a time when Mark, my husband, he would be like, do you want to go and walk with me or run with me? And I'd be like, no. Because in the back of my head, I was like, okay, he's going to leave. I can go to the pantry. I can sit on the couch. I can eat this bag of chips and I can watch TV. Like I didn't want anything to do with exercise. And then it came to a point where exercise had to be a part of my life. And now it truly, I crave it. It brings me so much joy. I now look at people and go, just give it some time. You'll learn. I promise. I was the same way. So that is my football. And I know that sounds kind of like, because this is the industry that I'm in, but it was before I was even a Beachbody coach that I loved being physically active. This just being a coach enhanced it like 10 times fold. So that is fun.
You can work in an area that fires you up internally. That's perfect. Win-win. That's awesome. I love it. Anybody else?
No.
Okay. So we talked about the C and the A, the care, the change and the accept, and then comes the R in our CARE acronym, which is reassess. So that's where the R, that's kind of the reassess means simply challenge your assumptions of what brings you joy, because it could be very different from what did it when you were a kid or what didn't do it when you were a kid. Basically, we're not the same people we've always been. And that's something that requires intention, the willingness to say, for me, I hated camping as a kid. I mean, I can remember going to Girl Scout camp at Camp Skimino in Williamsburg. Carrie, you were a Girl Scout, but I hated every minute of it. I hated it. And as
Lots
an
of
adult,
ticks.
and as an adult, I married a guy who loves camping and hiking and ice climbing and rock climbing. And I tried it again to see if maybe my feelings have changed, and they haven't. I still hate it. So that's okay. But the point is, I wanted to give it a shot because maybe current day Lisa would find joy in it, the calm and the peace and quiet and the tranquility and the outdoors. And I like all those things, but I also like indoor plumbing. And so I get that from other ways. And it's just, I ain't got time for that. But I gave it a try. And there's things that opportunities that come into our lives, whether we're intentional about it or not, that are meant to give us those second chances at things. And the football, I mean, I recognized that I was kind of interested in what was going on, and I actually gave it a shot. So the reassess piece just simply means to be willing to reassess what you believe will and won't bring you those bursts of joy. And then the E is simply embrace. So now that you've identified what it is that brings you those bursts, the E is just embrace it. Whatever it is, Beastie Boys, Barry Manilow, whatever it is that brings you that burst of joy, go all in whenever you can. And for me, it meant joining the Barry Manilow fan club and becoming a fanalo, and I'm very proud of that. It's what I do. But it's a burst of joy that otherwise, wouldn't be there. So to add in those bursts whenever you can, to be intentional about it, to be intentional about the exercise, to know that that's something, and you can't just know it. You actually have to do it. You can't just say, yeah, I love running. That makes me happy. Well, when was the last time you did it? Oh, 2 weeks ago. You have to force yourself to actually do it.
Like it's part of your day.
Exactly.
Just part of the schedule. Dancing in the kitchen. Oh, yes. Got to turn on some fun music.
You have to. You absolutely have to. It's just life's too short to not. And it's lovely when people can create those bursts for us. But I think that sometimes people who, want more joy in their life, they expect people to do it for them too often. And it's lovely when somebody surprises you with something that creates that moment for you, but we can't rely on that to happen. We have to own our joy and own those bursts and do what we know works for us whenever we can to make sure that we get that happiness. We get that feeling of calm or peace or joy that we know is going to work for us, especially when times are so difficult.
Yeah. So Kristen loves dancing in the kitchen.
Love it.
Anybody else have one that's like their fanalo moment? Makes you happy?
Maybe you love cooking. I don't get it, but maybe you do. Maybe that brings you joy. I love eating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe it's serving people. Maybe it's when your client has a big win. Maybe when you have a great supporting call with somebody where you're like, I just made a difference. I helped them get through something they were struggling with. That's a burst, man. That is a burst.
That's huge.
Yeah, it is.
I love giving too, Nikki. I'm with you.
Yes. My kid had her birthday last week, and I was like, how am I going to make this not suck so bad? And I ended up having a couple of her friends drive by in their cars at different times throughout the day. And, it didn't turn out bad. She was happy, created a little burst for her. So that created it for me for sure. When our kids are happy, we're happy.
Oh, isn't that the truth?
Mm.
I have one turning 16 this month.
That is mind blowing. Is 16 the age of driving out there where you are?
Yes, but she doesn't have her learner's permit yet.
Is she in any rush?
No, she is not. She is not in a hurry at all. We tool around in the car every now and then, but she's still pretty nervous behind the wheel. And so Austin traffic is insane anyway. And so we're going to take our time on it. We're going to get our permit in late January because that was the first opportunity I had, because you have to set an appointment now. You can't just go to the DMV. So that was the first one that we could get. And then we're just going to take our time learning how to drive. But the idea of a sweet 16 for my oldest child, we're just going to have a couple of friends on the back porch. I mean, we can't do a big whatever. So that's, it's hard for me, but you know what? Talking about it last night, she's like, whatever, if I can see my friends, I'm good. Like, 3 friends on the back porch with me, social distance and watching a movie. Yes, Mom, that's all. That's it. I'm good.
Go.
Like,
There you
okay.
go.
They're
And
learning
what
a lot, aren't they? That they have to find bursts of joy in the very simple.
Yep. But what a relief for you to know that you can let that go in your heart, because you know she's okay with what you have to do and how it has to be handled.
Yeah.
Tough stuff. Tough stuff. Yeah. So yeah, so next few chapters I think you'll enjoy. It's pretty funny. There's a couple of moments where I'm not, I'm sharing stories that, not my best moments, but I think you'll laugh. I think you'll find them funny. Does anybody have any questions about anything you've read or thought about? We knew what you meant. Damn.
You all will always remember that too. Such a good one. Anybody have any questions for Lisa before we let her go today? She's agreed to come on one more time with us next week. We'll be finishing up next week.
Thank you for your time. This
No,
was
she's
so
so
helpful.
generous.
It's been so much fun. So great to connect with you. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity and look forward to getting to know you a little more next week.
Yes, sounds good. We'll see you then.
Thanks,
Have a good day,
Lisa.
everybody. Thank you.
Are we done? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.